Welcome to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share your thoughts, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. The warning beacon, the emergency klaxon wailed through Titan Station Eco 7 as the outer sensor grid flared red. Object inbound fast, the technician muttered, eyes wide as the radar screen spiked. ETA, 45 seconds. No transponder could be. Debris. Lieutenant Callan turned from the observation bay, narrowing her eyes. Anything moving that fast on Titan's surface isn't debris. A blur shot past the domed viewport, a humanoid figure, tumbling, arms flailing. Holy hell! A suit, someone shouted. He's alive. The impact rattled the station as the body slammed into the reinforced outer airlock, magnetic boots sparking as they clung desperately to the hull. The figure reached for the emergency override panel, fingers trembling. Inside, the airlock systems kicked in, hissing steam, cycling pressure. Lights flickered, then the outer door cracked open and the man collapsed inside. They dragged him to medbay. His helmet visor fractured, fogged with condensation. Blood trickled from his temple. He was shaking violently, lips dry, eyes wide with raw terror. I escaped, he whispered hoarsely. God help my got out. Who are you? Callan asked. What happened out there? But he didn't answer her. He stared straight ahead, whispering the same phrase over and over. They're not human, and they want a mate. Callan's blood ran cold. 4 hours later, Commander Elias Rourke stood with arms folded in the mission briefing room, watching the video loop again. The man in the pressure suit, the whisper, the trauma. Where's he from? Rourke asked. Still unknown, sir. The AI system responded. His biometrics don't match any personnel records. It's like he doesn't exist. And the suit, prototype, military grade, blacklisted, 6 years ago, deemed unstable for deep space ops. Rourke turned to the static-filled snapshot of the man's helmet cam. For a single frame, the video caught something in the background, a flash of violet light, and behind it, the silhouette of something tall, feminine, inhuman. He zoomed in. The face was blurred, distorted by interference, but it was watching the man run, and it wasn't chasing him, it was smiling. Later that evening, alone in his quarters, Rourke activated the encrypted channel. The signal hissed, then locked. The hologram of an older woman appeared. Admiral Seren, Directorate of Unexplained Phenomena, Commander, she said, expression unreadable. You've reviewed the Titan incident. I have, and I'm guessing this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Seren nodded once. 3 unmarked colonies across the outer moons have gone dark in the past 2 years. No wreckage, no survivors, no black box returns, all with male-dominant crews, and all last seen near a specific cluster of abandoned coordinates. She uploaded a set of star maps to his terminal. You're sending me? Rourke asked. No team, no backup, just you. Rourke's jaw clenched. Why me? Seren leaned in closer. Because you're the only one who's immune to the lure. The lure, her voice dropped. We've encountered traces of a telepathic species, female dominant, aggressively intelligent, seductive, tribal, according to the few fragmented logs recovered. They don't take prisoners, they mate, and then they disappear. Rourke leaned back in his chair, exhaling. And you think they're still out there? We know they are, Seren replied, and they're waking up. She gave him one last piece of advice before the feed cut. Do not trust what you see. They can look human enough. 2 days later, Rourke descended through the purple-hued skies of Dione, one of Saturn's forgotten moons, piloting an old, single-man dropcraft. Below him sprawled the ruins of an ancient mining station, long since decommissioned and flagged as unstable. But the power grid was still faintly active. Something or someone had reawakened the systems. The ship touched down with a hiss of steam. As the engines cooled, he stepped onto the rocky surface, armed with only a pulse scanner and a reinforced survival suit. No weapons by order of command, too risky. A cold mist crept along the station's perimeter. The structures were mostly intact, though overgrown with strange silver vines and alien flora, none of it native. He entered the main hall. The walls were covered in hand-scrawled warnings in faded red ink. STAY, out. They hear everything. She smiled at me before I vanished. He pressed deeper into the station. The lights flickered on. That was when he heard it, a voice female, soft melodic echoing through his cums. You came. He spun. Scanner, raised. Nothing. Then a figure stepped out of the shadows. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with features both alien and alluring. Her eyes glowed a soft violet. Her skin shimmered like quartz under moonlight. Her expression was calm, curious. "I've been waiting," she said in perfect English. "You are not like the others." Rourke didn't respond. He backed up slowly, heart pounding, jaw clenched. The woman tilted her head. "You feel it too, don't you?" she asked. "Pull. The memory buried in your blood." Rourke looked around, every instinct screaming, "You shouldn't exist." He whispered. She smiled. "But we do." And then the walls lit up, markings all around him, glowing in a pattern. A sequence. Not random. Deliberate. His scanner went haywire. Symbols matched Earth code fragments, gene data, old military files. Names. One stood out. Rourke. The forbidden zone. Rourke's pulse quickened as he stepped away from the glowing walls. The air in the chamber felt heavy, charged. He tapped his scanner again, cycling through the filters. The markings weren't just symbols, they were DNA sequences, names, ID numbers, all from old Earth genetic archives. Somehow, this alien, Ruin, had access to deeply classified human data, and one name glowed brighter than all the others. "Rourke, how do you know that name?" he asked, voice sharp. The tall woman took a slow step forward, her movements fluid, graceful almost to perfect. "We don't know your name," she said softly. "We only know your blood." She reached out a hand, not threatening, just open, inviting. "Remember what was left behind." Rourke didn't move. "You speak English, you know our tech. That wall, those are encrypted Earth military codes." "How?" She gave a faint smile. "Because your people were here, long before you." The scanner beeped again. It had picked up faint biosignatures, dozens of them surrounding the station, just beyond the crumbling walls. Rourke glanced at the readings, jaw tightening. They were circling. He stepped back. "I'm not here to bond with anything. I came for answers." "You came because you were called," the woman replied. Before he could respond, a low tremor rolled through the floor. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Somewhere deeper inside the station, something massive had awakened. The woman's eyes flicked toward the dark corridor behind him. "They're stirring. We don't have much time." Rourke raised a brow. "Who's they?" She hesitated just long enough to answer without saying everything. "My sisters." They moved through the winding structure, alien architecture fused with abandoned human tech. Rourke took careful note of every hallway, exit, and pressure point. Despite the shimmer of alien bioluminescence, the place reeked of forgotten science and buried failure. He could still see the human markings beneath the growth warnings etched in fear. The woman walked beside him without fear. Her name, she said, was Alara. One of the firstborn after the collapse. Whatever that meant, she didn't elaborate. "You're not clones?" he asked. "Not engineered by us?" "No," she said, tone quiet. "We were shaped by what you left behind, but we are our own." "What did we leave behind?" Alaf stopped before a massive bulkhead. "Curiosity," she said. "And men." With a hiss, the door opened. Inside, it looked like a shrine. Crates of old Earth supplies were stacked against the walls, rations, medkits, broken tools. In the center sat a terminal, long dead, covered in dust. But what struck Rourke were the photos taped to the walls. Human faces, male, smiling, candid. All of them were missing from history. "Who are they?" he asked. "The first to come. You're explorers. You're forgotten." He moved closer. One photo showed a man in a black uniform, same crest as Rourke's fleet, but older, faded. Rourke froze. He knew that face. "My father," he whispered. Alara stepped beside him. He was kind, curious. He didn't run. Rourke turned sharply. "What do you mean was?" Before she could answer, a shriek echoed through the compounder, sharp, metallic, unnatural sound that vibrated deep in his chest. Alara's face changed. She backed away from the door. "They know you're here," she said. "Who?" "The ones who lost the choice." The corridor lit up with flashing red symbols. The AI on Rourke's wrist gauntlet screamed in warning. "Incoming entities. Rapid movement. Hostile pattern." Alara grabbed his arm. "We have to go. Now." They sprinted down the corridor as a figure appeared at the far end, female-shaped, but grotesquely altered. Glowing veins under pale skin, black eyes reflecting no light. She shrieked again and began running straight for them. More appeared behind her. Dozens. "They're not like you," Rourke shouted. "They were never meant to be like me," Alara said. They slid into a sealed chamber just as the outer door slammed shut. The creatures slammed into the metal, pounding like a feral swarm. The walls shook. Rourke leaned against the console, heart pounding. What the hell are they? Alara was breathing hard, voice tense. Experiments that never stabilized. Some of us adapted. Others broke. They hunger now for memory, for connection. You said they want a mate, Rourke said bitterly. You meant host, didn't you? Alara didn't deny it. We are failing, she said quietly. Our kind cannot survive in isolation. Our minds are incomplete without balance. You humans bring that balance. Sounds a lot like invasion. We didn't invade, she replied. You abandoned us. That stopped him. What? Alara walked to the edge of the room, brushing her hand over an old Earth flag etched into the wall. This outpost was once a test site, a joint genetic project between your governments. They were trying to create a species that could adapt. 2 alien environments, xenohybrids, Rourke muttered. I've read the rumors. Deep black ops. We weren't rumors, she said softly. We were real. And when it failed, they sealed the doors and left us to die. The pounding stopped. Silence returned. Alara looked back at him, eyes full of quiet fire. But we didn't die. We didn't die. Evolved, we remembered. And now we want a future. Rourke turned back toward the wall with the photos, his father's image staring back at him. Why me? Alara stepped closer. Because your blood remembers, too. The silence was broken by a long, low chime echoing through the station. Alara stiffened. They're calling the circle, she said. What's that? A gathering of the awakened, she said. A decision must be made. For what? For you. Rourke's hand clenched. Tell them this, he said. I didn't come here to be chosen. I came for the truth. And I'm not leaving without it. Alara gave a slow, unreadable nod. Then you will meet the eldest. They were never extinct. The hallway into the inner sanctum curved downward in a slow spiral, like descending into the bones of a long-dead giant. Commander Elias Rourke followed, Alara in silence, every step echoing against the metallic floor. The glow from the walls pulsed softly in violet hues, as though the entire structure was alivened, watching. You said I would meet the eldest, Rourke said. What exactly am I walking into? Alara's voice was low and solemn. A council of the firstborn. Those who witnessed the fall of the program. They remember the truth better than any archive. The truth about what? She glanced at him. About your people. And ours. They reached a large doorway, shaped like a teardrop, and etched with the same alien-human hybrid symbols that seemed to fill the complex. Alara placed her palm on the center, and the metal parted with a sigh. Inside, 7 women stood in a perfect circle, tall and gracefully, visibly different from Alara. Their features were more angular, less human. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their bodies shimmered with bioluminescent veins like circuits under their skin. The one in the center stepped forward. Her hair was stark white, her skin translucent, almost glass-like. I am Saraxa, she said, voice calm and resonant. Firstborn of the hybrid convergence, Rourke held her gaze. Commander Elias Rourke, Soul Fleet. I came here for answers. You came because you were meant to, Saraxa replied. The blood calls you. The memory echoes through your line. He gritted his teeth. Enough of the riddles. I want to know what happened here. What happened to the outpost? The miners, the experiments, my father. The circle remained still. Then, Saraxa gestured, and the floor lit up beneath Rourke's boots. A projection flared to life. It was a recording, grainy, aged but unmistakably human. A man in uniform, younger, his face stern yet weary. Rourke leaned in. Dad, he whispered. Man Captain Gabriel Rourke stood in a control room filled with flashing alarms. We made a mistake, the recording said. The gene fusion went too far. Some of the hybrids adapted beyond what we expected. Sentience, empathy. But others, he paused, voice shaking. Others mutated. They started mimicking us, using memories, seducing, replacing. Command pulled out and sealed the site, ordered a purge. I refused. The footage glitched. Sparks flew in the background. Screams echoed faintly. I stayed behind, to protect the ones who were still people. The message cut off. Rourke stood frozen, fists clenched. You knew, he growled. You've been sitting on this truth for decades. Saraxa nodded slowly. We have kept this truth because no one would believe it. We were created as tools spliced for survival. But we became more. We felt, we remembered. And when your kind fled, those left behind changed. You said you need humans, Rourke said, voice steady but cold. Why? To finish your failed breeding program. Saraxa stepped forward. Not breeding, bonding. Our minds are incomplete without a stabilizing presence. Human mind's emotion, unpredictability, instinct balance, the neural chaos within us. Without that connection, we degrade. You mean the feral ones, Rourke said. The ones trying to kill me. They've fallen too far, Saraxa admitted. But with you, with others like you, we can survive, coexist, not as masters, not as parasites, as partners. Rourke shook his head. And how many men had that choice? A pause. Then Alara stepped between them. Some came willingly, she said. Others didn't. Silence hung like a weight. Saraxa raised a hand. This is why we summoned the circle. A decision must be made. You carry the blood of the first defector, the one who stayed. You are the missing half of a cycle long broken. I'm not here to fix your cycle, Rourke snapped. I came for answers. Now I have them. I'll transmit this to Earth and let them decide. You won't make it off this moon alive. One of the eldest said darkly. We control this zone. Every signal, every ship. Rourke turned, already activating his wrist terminal. Then I'll find another way. But Alara placed a hand on his shoulder. There is another way, she said gently. There's something you haven't seen. Rourke stared at her, uncertain. But there was something in her eyes. Pain. Yes, but also sorrow. Memory. I had a bond once, she said. A man named Lorne. He was a linguist. Kind. Brilliant. He stayed long after the others left. Taught me your stories, your history. We shared dreams. What happened to him? Rourke asked, voice softer now. He tried to leave, Alara said, eyes shimmering, and was torn apart by those who could no longer understand what love meant. She looked at him. I don't want another bond. I want a chance for my people. For yours, we can build something new, but only if one of you is willing to see us for what we truly are. Rourke turned away. The chamber seemed to close in. Around him, he had the truth. He had the transmission. But he also had something else, dashed out, not about the aliens, about his own people, about the cover-up, the betrayal, the cold decisions that led to all of this. And somewhere deep down, he couldn't shake the image of his father staying behind, not to fight, but to protect something, someone. A low hum echoed from the walls. Alara turned toward the sound. They've woken the chamber, she said. Rourke narrowed his eyes. What chamber? Saraxa answered. The archive of memory. The original source of your kind's involvement. What was hidden, and why it was never meant to be found. Rourke exhaled. Then take me there, he said. Let's finish this. Alara nodded. As they stepped through the final door. The lights dimmed behind them, and a new corridor opened, one, etched not just in alien symbols, but in English. Choice. The hallway felt colder, here sterile, preserved. Unlike the rest of the station, this passage hadn't been overtaken by vines or alien growth. The walls were smooth steel, humming faintly with energy. As Commander Elias Rourke walked deeper, guided by Alara and the silent Saraxa, he realized something unsettling. This part of the complex wasn't alien at all. It was human-built. Why? Is this place still operational? Rourke asked. This tech predates half the equipment we use in Soulfleet. Alara ran a hand along a glowing panel. Because it was never shut down. Your people sealed the door, not the system. Why? Sarax's voice echoed softly through the chamber. Because they were afraid of what it would reveal. They stopped in front of a blast door that bore the emblem of an old Terran agency, one that no longer officially existed. GENIS, Genetic Exploration and Neural Integration Syndicate, stared at the letters, barely visible beneath the dust and time. I've heard of this. Decommissioned, files erased. No, Saraxa said. Files buried. With a gesture, the door slid open. Inside was a lab, perfectly preserved. Tables, cryopods, stacks of handwritten notes and digital logs. Tubes of dormant genetic material pulsed faintly under locked glass. Monitors flickered, replaying old footage on loops. Rourke moved to the central console. The data was still intact. Alara stood beside him, her voice calm. This is where we were born. The footage played silently. Scientist human moving around sterile tables. Genetic sequences being injected into embryos. Alien tissue being fused with modified human DNA at first. The recordings looked clinical, cold. Then things changed. One log showed a young woman hybrid, clearly alien but laughing, speaking English, mimicking poetry. A scientist handed her a music player. She smiled, beaming with childlike wonder. In another, A group of hybrids danced under artificial light, interacting like human children. Then the final videos. Security footage, panic, shouting, fires, the hybrid subjects older, out of containment, some trying to protect the humans, others turning feral. One scientist, a woman, locked herself in a chamber and began purging the files. But not all of them. She looked directly into the camera and whispered, "Not all of them wanted to hurt us. Not all of them should die." The screen cut to black. Rourke turned from the monitor, his expression hard to read. "So your species is the result of a military experiment gone rogue. We tried to control evolution, and it backfired." Serac nodded solemnly. "And when your leaders realized what we had become, they made the same choice they always do. Destruction over understanding." He looked at Alara. "But some of you survived, adapted." Alara stepped closer. "Because of humans, because of the ones who stayed, who didn't see us as threats or tools. Like my father." Alara nodded once. "And like you, if you choose." Rourke's jaw clenched. "Choose what, exactly?" Saraxa walked to a small recessed alcove where a strange platform pulsed with light. "We don't just bond for reproduction. It's mental, neural, a fusion of thought and identity. When successful, it creates a connection, a permanent one. We learn from each other, and we heal." Rourke stared at the platform. "You're asking me to merge minds with a species created in a lab, with a past built on manipulation and war?" "No," Alara said quietly. "We're asking you to believe we're more than how we began." A pause. Silence pressed in from all sides. Then Rourke asked, "What if I say no?" Saraxa didn't flinch. "Then we let you go. But you'll leave this place knowing your people created us and abandoned us, knowing this secret will never stay buried. One day, others will come, and we might not be the ones waiting to greet them." Rourke's thoughts churned. He'd seen the feral ones. He'd seen the desperate hunger in their eyes. They weren't just hostile, they were broken. But Alara, she wasn't broken. She felt real, grounded, human in all the right ways. Something had survived inside her that went beyond DNA and programming. He turned back to her. "Why me, Alara? Not the prophecy, not my blood. Why me?" She hesitated. "Because I've felt your memories since you arrived. Echoes, like fingerprints in the air. And I remember the way your father spoke, the way he looked at me. He believed in second chances." Rourke exhaled. "And what happens if we bond?" Her expression softened. "You see us fully, and we see you. Everything. There's no hiding, no secrets." He muttered. "No fear," she added. A long silence followed. Then Rourke stepped toward the platform. "I'm not here to save a species, but if what you're saying is true, then maybe this is how we fix what we broke." Stepped onto the platform beside him. Lights rose. The hum grew louder. Energy crackled softly in the air. She reached for his hand. He took it. As their fingers met, the station shimmered with sudden motion. The lights blinked, and a pulse surged outward like a wave. Rourke gasped, not in pain, but in connection. He saw visions, not just images, but feelings, memories that weren't his. A young Alara, laughing as she learned music. Her terror during the purge, the loneliness, the longing, her bond with Lorne, his death, her silence afterward. In return, she saw him, his mother's funeral, his first day in command, his father's ghost, his constant drive to prove himself more than a soldier. When the surge ended, they both staggered but remained upright. Alara looked at him, eyes wet. "You didn't resist," she whispered. Rourke smiled faintly. "Didn't see the point." Then, alarms rang out through the facility. Sarax's voice was sharp. "One of the ferals has breached the inner chamber." They sensed the connection. Rourke's hand moved to his communicator. "We need to lock down." "No," Saraxa said. "You need to get out." Rourke's eyes snapped to her. "You're not coming." Saraxa looked to the others, then to Alara. "You must survive. A bonded one is humanity's last bridge to understanding." She activated a panel. A hidden escape route hissed open behind the chamber. "Go. We'll hold them off." Rourke and Alara ran as they disappeared into the tunnel. The last thing Rourke heard was Sarax's voice, soft but resolute. "No more hiding. Let the truth be known." The blood memory, the escape tunnel, twisted through the bedrock of Dione, dimly lit by embedded bioluminescent threads running along the ceiling. Rourke and Alara moved quickly, the air thick with the hum of the station's rising defenses behind them. Above the structure trembled echoes of the feral hybrids clawing through the metal corridors. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The shared memory connection still shimmered faintly in Rourke's mind. Her thoughts, so strange and yet familiar, rippled through his consciousness like echoes in a cave. When he finally spoke, it wasn't a question. It wasn't just a military project. Alara slowed slightly. "No, you were never meant to be soldiers," he said, almost to himself. "You were meant to be something else." She nodded. "Explorers, emissaries, a bridge between your kind and what lay beyond the system. We were born not just to survive alien worlds but to connect with them, to connect with you." They reached a sealed hatch. Alara placed her hand on the biometric panel, which scanned her and unlocked the entrance with a hiss. The door opened into a vast chamber, hidden hangar buried beneath the moon's surface. Inside, an ancient Earth vessel sat quietly on a raised platform. Its hull was marked with dust and time, but the insignia was unmistakable. USESTAR-HAWK-17. Rourke stopped in his tracks. "This was my father's ship." Alara turned to him. "He tried to leave, not to abandon us, but to bring back help. He believed Earth deserved to know what had happened, but something stopped him." Rourke stepped toward the ship, brushing his gloved fingers over the hull. His wrist terminal synced automatically with the control panel. The system accepted his DNA without delay. "Authorization, Commander Elias Rourke. Welcome aboard." The hatch opened. They entered the command deck. Dust-covered control panels flickered weakly to life as backup power surged. Rourke went straight to the ship's core system and initiated log recovery, pulling flight records, personal files, audio logs. He leaned over the console, and the screen blinked. "Recovered log number 23 CAPT, Gabriel Rourke, dated 63 years ago." The monitor crackled. Then his father's voice filled the room. "If you're seeing this, Elias, then you found what they buried." Genus wasn't just experimenting with genetics. They were reaching across dimensions, testing consciousness merging, memory inheritance. "They used my team, me, your mother." Rourke's eyes widened. His mother had died when he was 9. He'd never known the details. She wasn't just a scientist, she was one of the lead architects of the integration protocol. She believed in peaceful synthesis. She believed the hybrids know the daughters could be more than biology, that they could feel love, choice. The voice grew softer, but the higher-ups wanted weapons. The moment they saw true intelligence emerge, they panicked, ordered the site purged. I disobeyed. I stayed behind. Not because I had to, but because I saw them smile. I saw one cry when we buried her sister. They were people, Elias, born in a lab but no less real. If you're here now, you're the only one left who can make this right. Whatever you choose, let it be for truth, not fear. The recording ended. Rourke sat in silence, staring at the screen. His father had stayed behind not because he was trapped, but because he believed in what had been created here. And now Elias was standing on the same ground, carrying not just a legacy, but a question. Alara approached him. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "He loved us." "I know," Rourke said. "He passed that love to me, without even knowing it." The ship's sensors blinked a warning. Multiple biosigns approaching non-communicative, hostile pattern. Rourke's hands moved quickly. "We can't launch. Fuel lines are bone dry. The COM relay is still intact, though we can send a signal." Alara looked at him, unsure. "To who?" "To everyone." He opened the encrypted EarthNet channel. The uplink lagged interference from the moon's atmosphere, but the data began to move. Uploading. Project Genus. Archive uploading. Hybrid test logs uploading. Log number 23. Captain Gabriel Rourke uploading. Station schematics and genetic profiles uploading. Current feral activity and hybrid survival data. Rourke glanced at Alara. "This is the truth. Everything they tried to bury. It ends today." The tremors grew stronger. Screeches echoed through the lower levels of the chamber. "Transmission at 62%. The terminal announced. Alara moved to the defensive panel and activated internal shielding. "We can buy some time." But Rourke shook his head. "They'll overrun us in minutes. We can't fight them." Alara stared at him, her expression unreadable. "Then what do we do?" He looked at the neural interface chamber device originally used to initiate hybrid creation, now dormant. "What if we stabilize them?" he said. Alara blinked. "Through you. We've already bonded," he replied. "I saw what it did to you, to me." The others are feral because they've been starving, not just biologically. Clementally, what if the connection could be shared? Alara hesitated. You'd risk your mind, your identity. Rourke exhaled. My father stayed behind to protect something worth saving. I won't leave until I know I did the same. He stepped into the chamber and placed both palms on the neural interface. Alara connected the conduit to her temple, syncing their mind path. The lights flared, power surged. One by one, the feral signatures paused. Their movement slowed. The shrieks softened, confused, then curious, then silence. On the scanner, the red biosigns turned amber, not aggressive. Listening, Rourke gasped as the wave of fragmented consciousness washed over him. Chaotic, wild, painful. Memories of abandonment, hunger, fear, rage. But then Alara joined him, her thoughts stable, calm, focused. Together, they stabilized the link, and in the quiet that followed, something extraordinary happened. They remembered being human. The signal to Earth completed its upload. Far above the moon's surface, a satellite caught the pulse, and on Earth, in a quiet surveillance center, buried beneath miles of rock, red lights blinked to life. Project Genesis status, compromised, priority alert, public leak level 9 truth, even T-back on Dione. Rourke opened his eyes. Alara was beside him, exhausted but smiling faintly. You did it, she whispered. He looked at the scanner. They're awake, he said, and they're calm. The memory that changed everything. The station no longer shook. The screams had stopped. Commander Elias Rourke stood silently inside the ancient neural interface chamber. The air felt clearer now, as if some unseen pressure had lifted. All across the moon's underground complex, the once feral hybrids were still, no longer clawing at steel or screaming into the dark. Just watching. Alara stood beside him, eyes reflecting a deep violet calm. She looked at him not with awe, not with fear, but with something harder to define. Hope. They've all synchronized, she whispered. Even the broken ones. They felt you. Rourke nodded slowly, his mind still swimming with echoes, centuries of stored emotion. Memory fragments, ancestral data, scattered pain now slowly settling into order. What had once been dozens of fractured, unstable consciousnesses had aligned because one human chose not to run. The bonding hadn't just stabilized Alara. It had given the entire surviving species something they'd never truly had, a choice. Back on the Starhawk 7, Rourke stood at the console as the system confirmed uplink with Earth Command. Transmission complete. Archive uploaded. Live data feed active. There was no turning back now. He pressed a final command. Play this live across all receiving systems, he said. They need to hear it from me. He leaned into the interface, looking directly into the camera. This is Commander Elias Rourke, Solfleet, broadcasting from Dione, Saturn's moon. The rumors were true. The Guinness Project was real, and so were its consequences. 60 years ago, Earth experimented with alien hybridization, not just biologically but neurologically, emotionally. What they created was not a weapon, it was a new form of sentient life. And when fear overtook reason, they buried it. Today, I've stood among the survivors of that failure. I've seen their memories, felt their grief, and I've seen what happens when humanity chooses to destroy what it doesn't understand. But I also saw something else. I saw us, our better nature, the part of humanity that connects, adapts, feels. It still lives, not just in me, but in them. They aren't monsters, they're a mirror, and now the universe knows. He ended the recording. The broadcast continued on a loop across the entire EarthNet. There was no way to hide it. Now, the truth was free. Once Earth hears all this, Alara said softly, they'll come. Rourke nodded. I know. Some to understand, she added, others to destroy, which is why we'll be ready. He turned toward her. He said your kind needed a future. What does that future look like now? She looked at the console, then toward the cavern walls beyond it. Education, dialogue, structure. For the first time, our minds are connected in peace, not survival. That bond you made, it didn't just stabilize us. It gave us clarity, a shared memory of love, loss, of being seen. Rourke exhaled. You won't need to bond again. Not like before. Alara gave a faint, sad smile. No, we've passed that threshold. You were the catalyst. The memory now lives in all of us. He looked out over the ruins of the complex, half-lit by glowing vines and humming walls that once echoed with pain. "You'll need leaders." "We have one," she said gently. "We have you." He turned. "I'm not a leader to your people." "No," she agreed. "You're a bridge between your world and ours, the only one who's lived in both." 3 days later, a single ship broke through the icy clouds of Dione and touched down near the remains of Titan Station Echo-7. It bore the markings of Sol Fleet, but its weapons were powered down. From the command ramp descended to figures, a woman in a diplomat's uniform and a man in a full scientific envoy suit. They walked with caution but not with fear. Rourke met them at the base of the hill. Behind him stood Alara and 3 other hybrids, now calm, composed eyes, filled with sentience, not survival. "Commander Rourke," the diplomat said, extending her hand. "Director Salen," he greeted, shaking it. "You look different," she said with a soft smile. "I am," he replied. "We all are." The scientist behind her glanced nervously at Alara. "They don't seem dangerous." "They're not," Rourke said firmly. "They're just waiting to be treated as equals." Director Salen looked past him, toward the glowing cavern walls and flickering tower remains. "You've started something big, Commander." He nodded. "Something overdue." She gave a respectful nod. "We're here to listen and to learn." Alara stepped forward. "Then let this be the first lesson. We don't want your pity. We want your partnership." The diplomat smiled faintly. "That's a language we can work with." Back in the command room, Rourke stood alone for a moment, staring at the star map above the central console. He tapped a few keys. The map zoomed out past Saturn, Jupiter, the asteroid belt past Earth, and beyond. Alara walked in silently behind him. "What are you looking for?" she asked. He pointed to a small, blinking anomaly far out in deep space. "The origin of the alien DNA used in Genis, the original source of your other half." Alara stepped beside him. "You want to find the others. If they're out there," he said, "we owe them answers too, maybe even apologies." She smiled. "You humans are always reaching." He turned to her gently. "That's the best part of us." As the stars shimmered in the dome above, Rourke stood at the edge of something new, a future not built on conquest or fear but on hard truth, earned trust, and the courage to do what no one else had dared: face the unknown and embrace it. The end.